Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. The Monetary Policy Committee took various steps to increase liquidity. 269 million Indians moved above extreme poverty line between 2011-12 and 2022-23. Gross foreign direct investment inflows rose by around 14% between 2023-24 to 2024-25, says RBI Governor. Rising quick commerce in India transforming consumer behavior and market dynamics. Fourth India-Central Asia dialogue concludes in New Delhi. To address the growing need for liquidity in the banking system, the Monetary Policy Committee or MPC has taken significant steps. The committee has decided to cut the cash reserve ratio or CRR by 100 basis points and reduce the repo rate by 50 basis points. These measures are aimed at infusing liquidity and ensuring that banks have more funds available for lending and investments. Let's now understand the key policy instruments used for liquidity management. First up, the cash reserve ratio or CRR. It's the percentage of cash that banks are required to keep in reserve with the central bank based on their total deposits. Importantly, banks cannot lend this money to corporates or individuals, nor can they invest it. And here's the catch. Banks don't earn any interest on this reserved amount. Moving on to the repo rate. This is the interest rate at which the central bank lends money to commercial banks when they face a shortage of funds. This lending is usually done against government securities. Now, let's talk about the Liquidity Adjustment Facility or LAF. This is a tool the RBI uses to either inject or absorb liquidity from the banking system. It includes overnight as well as term repo and reverse repo operations, both at fixed and variable rates. The LAF also consists of the Standing Deposit Facility or SDF and the Marginal Standing Facility or MSF. Coming to the Statutory Liquidity Ratio or SLR. This is the minimum percentage of deposits that a commercial bank must maintain in the form of liquid cash, gold, or other securities. It's important to note that this is not reserved with the RBI, but maintained by the banks themselves. The SLR is fixed by the Reserve Bank of India. Apart from these, other tools like the bank rate, SDF rate, MSF rate, and open market operations also play a role in managing liquidity. And finally, a quick word on the Monetary Policy Committee itself. The MPC was set up under Section 45ZB of the amended RBI Act 1934. It's a 6-member committee headed by the Governor of the RBI. 3 members are from the Reserve Bank of India and 3 are appointed by the central government. The committee is mandated to meet at least 4 times a year, and the quorum for a meeting is 4 members. With these measures, the MPC aims to stabilize the economy and maintain adequate liquidity in the system. In a major stride towards economic upliftment, 269 million Indians moved above the extreme poverty line between 2011-12 and 2022-23. This transition marks a dramatic fall in extreme poverty from 27.1% in 2011 to just 5.3% in 2022, based on the World Bank's updated global poverty line of $3 per person per day, measured in 2021 purchasing power parity. But what does this new benchmark actually mean? The poverty line is essentially a monetary threshold below which an individual cannot meet their basic minimum needs. Earlier, the global standard was $2.15 per day based on 2017 PPP. The World Bank has now revised this to $3 per day, aiming to better reflect contemporary global prices and cost of living standards. In fact, for different types of economies, the poverty line varies. For lower middle income economies, it is currently set at $4.20 per person per day, and for upper middle income economies, it stands at $8.30. Now, when we examine the rural-urban divide in India's poverty reduction story, the data paints a promising picture. Rural poverty has dropped significantly from 18.4% in 2011-12 to 2.8% in 2022-23. On the other hand, urban poverty has fallen from 10.7% to just 1.1% during the same period. Complementing this trend is India's performance in the Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index or MPI. India's MPI fell from 53.8% in 2005-06 to 16.4% in 2019-21. and further down to 15.5% in 2022-23. This index, which accounts for 6 critical indicators: consumption or income, educational attainment, educational enrollment, drinking water, sanitation, and electricity, has also shown remarkable improvement. But what made this shift possible? A series of targeted government initiatives played a key role. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana ensured that houseless households receive a Pakka house with essential amenities. The Ujjwala Yojana brought clean cooking fuel to rural and deprived families, significantly improving their health and quality of life. The Jan Dhan Yojana helped millions of Indians access banking and financial services for the very first time. And with Ayushman Bharat, the government reduced the financial burden on vulnerable families during medical emergencies while ensuring they could access quality healthcare. Together, these measures have contributed to what is now a significant transformation in India's poverty landscape, showing not only statistical improvement, but real, tangible change in the lives of millions. In a positive development for India's investment landscape, gross foreign direct investment inflows rose by around 14% between 2023-24 and 2024-25, according to the RBI governor. However, it's a mixed picture. Net FDI inflows moderated to just $0.4 billion in 2024-25. This decline was largely due to a rise in repatriation, which signals a maturing market that now allows foreign investors to enter and exit more smoothly. At the same time, foreign portfolio investment also saw a drop, falling to $1.7 billion as the global investors look to book profits in equities. Now, what exactly is FDI? It refers to the investment through equity instruments by a person resident outside India, either in an unlisted Indian company or in 10% or more of the post-issue paid-up equity capital of a listed Indian company on a fully diluted basis. For FPI, this limit is below 10%. Unlike FPI, FDI doesn't just bring in money. It brings in knowledge, skills, and technology, and often involves control over ownership in the business entity. It's also important to understand the difference between the gross and net FDI. Gross FDI refers to the total investment made by foreign entities directly into the productive assets of India. Net FDI, on the other hand, is the difference between inward FDI flows and outward FDI flows, which includes repatriation by foreign firms and outward investment by Indian firms. So, what is fueling this rise in FDI in India? One of the key reasons is India's investor-friendly policy regime, which allows 100% FDI through the automatic route in most sectors. This is further supported by flagship reforms like the rollout of GST and the launch of the National Logistics Policy. In addition, India's services sector, ranging from finance and IT to research, development, and consultancy, has remained a strong pull factor. The resurgence of manufacturing through production-linked incentive schemes has added further momentum. Subnational reforms have also played a major role as states across the country have enhanced infrastructure readiness, strengthened investor outreach programs, and brought in critical industrial policy reforms. Let's look at the numbers now. India received $81 billion in FDI inflows during 2024-25. The major sources of inward FDI were Singapore, followed by Mauritius, the United States, and the Netherlands. Among Indian states, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, Delhi, and Tamil Nadu were the top 5 destinations receiving the highest FDI. So, in summary, while repatriation has moderated net FDI inflows, the significant 14% rise in gross FDI highlights continued investor confidence in India's long-term growth story. A recent report by global consultancy firm Kearney highlights that India's Q-commerce grocery market is expected to grow threefold between 2024 and 2027, reaching a staggering 1.7 lakh crore rupees. But what exactly is Q-commerce? It's a unique business model that delivers goods or services within 10 or 30 minutes of ordering. Think Swiggy's Instamart, Blinkit, or Zepto. To make this possible, sellers have had to move away from traditional warehouses located on the city outskirts to micro warehouses situated closer to delivery points. Let's now understand the key ways Q-commerce is driving transformation. Firstly, consumer behavior is being influenced by a desire for convenience and instant gratification. Interestingly, 6 to 8% of all Q-commerce sales are incremental. These are driven by impulsive buying behaviors in categories like snacking, festive shopping, and gifting. However, sectors like fruits, vegetables, and dairy are seeing lower adoption on these platforms. Why? Because in these categories, affordability and freshness remain top priorities. Next, Q-commerce is pushing premiumization. With easier access to high-end brands, some premium products are even getting launched exclusively on these platforms. And beyond shopping habits, Q-commerce is also reshaping employment dynamics. It's creating both direct jobs, especially in last-mile logistics, and indirect jobs in IT and support roles. In fact, Q-commerce generates 62 to 64 jobs per 1 crore rupees of monthly gross merchandise value, compared to 25 to 29 jobs in traditional e-commerce. What's more, we are witnessing a structural shift in employment towards platform-based gig work. This is being driven by a flexibility with options for part-time or full-time work, hyper-local employment, since Q-commerce stores are scattered across the regions, and the freedom to work across multiple platforms. Now, let's take a moment to see how Q-commerce holds an edge over offline channels. First is convenience. With ultra-fast deliveries and minimal wait times, it redefines how quickly consumers can get what they want. Second is assortment. It offers a wide range of products, often exceeding the variety available in physical stores. And thirdly, supply chains. Optimized logistics and advanced tech reduce wastage and increase profits, making operations leaner and smarter. To conclude, Q-commerce is no longer just a trend. It's prompting businesses to reevaluate their investment strategies. But even as it expands rapidly, Q-commerce must keep evolving in sync with consumer preferences and while coexisting with other retail channels. Moving on. The fourth India-Central Asia dialogue has concluded in New Delhi, marking another step forward in India's growing engagement with the Central Asian region. Foreign ministers from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan took part in this important dialogue. Let's look at the key highlights from the joint statement issued after the meeting. The Central Asian nations strongly condemned the recent Pahalgam terror attack and expressed interest in joint exploration of rare earth and critical minerals with India. The ministers also welcomed the designation of 2025 as the International Year of Peace and Trust, in line with the UN General Assembly resolution. Additionally, they commended the first high-level international conference on glaciers preservation, held in Tajikistan as part of the International Year of Glaciers Preservation 2025. Now, let's zoom out a bit and look at the broader picture of India-Central Asia relations. These are not new ties. India's linkages with Central Asia go back to at least the 3rd century BCE, with strong connections through the ancient Silk Road. In today's strategic landscape, Central Asian republics form India's extended neighborhood, and the collaboration spans across various sectors. In terms of connectivity and infrastructure, initiatives like the International North-South Transport Corridor and the Chabahar Port are playing key roles. For energy security, projects like the Tapi pipeline, linking Turkmenistan to India via Afghanistan and Pakistan, remain significant. India has also been importing yellow cake or uranium oxide from Kazakhstan since 2009 for its nuclear plants. On the economic front, agreements like the India-Kyrgyzstan Bilateral Investment Treaty and platforms like the India-Central Asia Business Council are fostering trade and investment. Security and defense cooperation are equally robust, with annual military exercises such as Khanjar between India and Kyrgyzstan and Kazind between India and Kazakhstan. In essence, the fourth dialogue reaffirms India's strategic commitment to deeper engagement with Central Asia, anchored in trust, mutual growth, and a shared regional vision. As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. The government is to inaugurate the National E-Vidhan application or NEVA for the Puducherry Legislative Assembly. Nagaland was the first legislative assembly to implement NEVA. This initiative is being carried out under the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs or MOPA. Union Minority Affairs Minister launched Ummeed Central Portal for real-time uploading, verification and monitoring of Waqf properties. Waqf refers to any movable or immovable property for any purpose recognized by Muslim law as pious, religious or charitable. The 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum was held in Brasilia, Brazil recently. India was entrusted with hosting the 12th BRICS Parliamentary Forum next year. BRICS Parliamentary Forum serves as a platform for legislative collaboration among the parliaments of BRICS countries. The PM of Canada has invited the Indian PM to the upcoming G7 summit to be held in Kananaskis, Canada. G7 was founded in 1975 in response to the oil crisis. It is an informal grouping of 7 countries that consist of the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom. Prime Minister inaugurated the world's highest railway arch bridge, Chenab Bridge over Chenab River, and the Anji Bridge, India's first cable-stayed rail bridge over Anji River, tributary of Chenab. Chenab or Chandrabagha is the largest tributary of Indus, formed by 2 streams, the Chandra and the Bagha, which join at Tandi near Kelong in Himachal Pradesh. UNESCO and the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology host the 5th Stakeholder Consultation on AI Readiness Assessment Methodology, or RAM, in India. AI-RAM initiative is a comprehensive framework to assess a country's AI ecosystem readiness by UNESCO and India AI Mission MITI. Kerala State Public Health Lab has developed molecular tests to identify deadly amoeba. Amoeba is a single-celled eukaryotic organism that belongs to the group of organisms known as protozoa. Recently, a report highlighted the need to invest $15.8 billion annually, approximately 0.5% of annual global defense budgets, to achieve the 30x30 target of protecting 30% of global oceans by 2030. The 30x30 target is a part of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. The 2 inscriptions, along with the 800-year-old Shiva temple of the later Pandya period, were unearthed in Melur, Tamil Nadu. The inscriptions are dated to 1217 to 1218 CE, corresponding to the reign of Marvarman Sundara Pandya I. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description below.